Today's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Look, I don't have problems hiring people because I just happen to be very talented at it, but I am a unique specimen. It's really hard to hire people. That's why we have ZipRecruiter. 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. Titus, how many college basketball teams are going to be looking for coaches on ZipRecruiter?
About half of them.
About half of them?
Yeah.
Right. Their powerful technology distributes your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards, identifies the right people, the right experience, invites them to apply to your job. My listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/BS. Meanwhile, SimpliSafe, guess what? They just released their brand new home security system, completely rebuilt, redesigned, new safeguards against power outages, down Wi-Fi, cut landlines, bats, hammers, everything in between. Smaller, faster, stronger than ever before. And what's truly remarkable, you still get 24/7 protection for only $15 a month. No contract, supplies limited. Visit simplysafebs.com. That is SimpliSafe with 2 I's. Don't forget about theringer.com. We have a bunch of Oscars videos this week. The Oscars are Sunday, and we brought Sean Fennessy, Wesley Morris, Cam Collins, Amanda Dobbins, Chris Ryan. All of them came in. They shot a bunch of videos. We did some podcasts. We did a Get Out rewatchables. We're running a lot of the podcasts on Channel 33, so that is fun. And then I have a new column on theringer.com today about Anthony Davis. It's called The Rise. And then last but not least, go to the Ringer's Twitter feed, @Ringer. On Sunday night, we are going to have a little pregame show before the Oscars. The half hour before it starts, we'll go over the categories one more time with our Oscars crew, Amanda Dobbins, Sean Fennessy, Chris Ryan, and more. And then right after the Oscars telecast, right after it ends, we're going live, post-game show, @Ringer on Twitter. Everybody's going to be reacting to that, and then we're going to run that as a podcast the next day on the Big Picture show that is on the Channel 33 feed. But check that out if you want to wonder what the hell just happened after the Oscars. The Ringer Oscars post-game show. It's happening Sunday night. We're going to have a ton of guests on today. And then my AOL mail, along with everybody else's AOL mail, fell apart. No mail today for me. Could not get guests because my mail doesn't work.
You got stuck with me.
No, you were on anyway, but I wanted to have multiple guests. I wanted to have people calling in. So now we're just going to have to wing it.
It's okay. I'm used to being the 12th option. That's my
Get out of here
at this point.
You were already booked. Mark Titus coming up from the Ringer. Tate Frazier, his mic is live. Wow, it's almost like these two guys have a podcast. You tape one later. I'm getting like sloppy seconds. All right, here we go. Pearl Jam. All right, Mark Titus is here. He arrived in LA this week from lovely Ohio. Brought crap weather with him. Thanks for that, Titus.
Yeah, the weather is actually better in Ohio right now.
Yeah, that hurts. So, lots going on. You guys are covering this on the One Shining podcast, which is America's hottest college basketball podcast right now.
I would say, yeah, if you put enough qualifiers on it, that would be true. The America's hottest college podcast.
It's how coaches do it. You just keep adding more things.
Yeah.
And then it's true.
It's the hottest college basketball podcast right now, One Shining podcast.
On the Ringer Podcast Network.
So, all this FBI stuff's going on.
Yeah.
And now it's Sean Miller versus ESPN.
Yeah,
and I'm getting Arizona fans telling me, like, start wearing an Arizona jersey. This is great.
You would love this.
You are basically like an Arizona mascot at this point. They love you.
Well,
yeah.
I
Build down.
I think I might start wearing the Arizona. What jersey do I get?
Salim Stoudemire.
Do they have the Steve Kerr throwback?
Wear the Salim Stoudemire headband. You wear Eugene Ederson knee pads. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So the story is ESPN. It's basically, it's Arizona versus ESPN. This is why people are reaching out to you. It's basically Arizona's version of Deflategate, which I don't know if you want to scratch that itch again.
I told you guys this at dinner last night. I remember every single person at ESPN who said something bad about the Patriots during Deflategate.
Yeah.
It gets super personal when you feel like somebody is messing with your team, whether it's right or wrong, it goes to a whole other level.
Well, the weird thing about this one is like, and I wasn't really that in tune with Deflategate, with how all that went down, but this one feels like it was one reporter at ESPN broke this story that Sean Miller was on a wiretap. The FBI has a wiretap of Sean Miller saying he was offering $100,000 to an agent for DeAndre Ayton, right? And so all the other ESPN personalities just assumed that was true. And so they go out and like on College Game Day, Billis is out there just like, they got to fire him now. And all those guys kind of come out and said they got to do something drastic. And then now, like, even all these guys that had nothing to do with the report are like trying to walk it back as well. They're like trying to distance themselves, but they can't because they work at ESPN. So I don't even know if it's really like an ESPN thing or if it's just like one guy at ESPN. And
then they had to parrot the report around for everyone. So now Arizona fans are taking all, like, as soon as it happened on Friday, every single big name, like from Vitale, Bill, everyone.
Dickie V. So the Saturday, like the news breaks Friday night. It's about midnight Eastern, and then the Saturday afternoon, Dickie V's calling the Syracuse Duke game, and Dickie V sounds like he's gonna have a heart attack. I mean, he's like, I can't believe what's happening to my sport I love. Sean Miller, he's got to go now. We got to clean this up.
Dickie V's like, there's no way Jim Boeheim did this. He's like, no, he's not involved in this one. Dickie V.
He's defending Rick Pitino. He's like, we need. And then Dickie V tweets out my article on the Ringer that I write, which is basically like, hey, this investigation's kind of problematic. And Dickie V's like, hey, this is interesting. I didn't see, it's like, Dick, 2 days ago you were saying we got to shoot this man into the sun.
Not only that, but Dickie V was mentioned in the piece. So he tweeted it out. It was like, really love this piece. And then everyone's
I would say he's been mentioned in every Titus piece since you started writing.
But the point is, like, the ESPN thing, I can't tell if it's like all of ESPN or if it's just like Dickie V almost feels betrayed by this as well. He's like, I can't believe I believe this report. Like,
well, it was interesting. Yeah. I watched PTI yesterday because Olbermann was back, which was really, really good. Actually, it had a certain energy to it. Turns out Keith Olbermann, say what you want about him, but very good at television. And they opened with the Sean Miller thing, but the elephant in the room was like, ESPN caused this, which is like, Sean Miller, do you believe him and all that stuff? It's like, maybe you can't talk about how ESPN caused this, but ESPN definitely caused this. And I think, 2018, reporting matters more than ever, but less than ever at the same time because, like, and we do this at The Ringer. Somebody reports something, and then we jump on it, and we react and rewrite a story. And it's almost like you don't need your own reporters anymore. You just react to what the noise is. And we're so conditioned to that when the noise is wrong, everybody's already moved at 60 miles an hour in the story, and we don't know if the story's true.
It worked out perfect for Tate and I, because when the story broke on Friday, I called Tate, and we were like, we got to do emergency pod right now. And we would have definitely regretted that, because we were like, we would have said all the same things. Sean Miller's got to go, all this kind of thing.
You guys are heroes to Arizona now. You were the one people who were like, hey, we need more info.
We waited until
very mature
Tuesday.
Mature journalists.
Yeah, you guys. I'm really proud of you guys.
Yeah, we waited for all the news to come out. But I think the main thing that was really wild about the whole situation with the Arizona fans is now they're never gonna forget Jay Billis said that. So they're like they're like tweeting at they're going back.
It's tough.
And
that will never go away either.
Yeah.
He's done and with Arizona for life.
And that's a
blue blood.
Tate and I slide right in, and they're never gonna forget that you and I had their backs the whole time, and now we go to Tucson.
I remember
free beers and dirtbags.
I remember all the people in the national media who were cautious with the. Oh wait, there was nobody who was cautious with the Flake-Gate. Not one person.
Oh, that's so sad. I can't believe the Patriots are victims.
I know we are always victimized. So you've been joking on your podcast all year about good guy, bad guy.
Yeah,
and obviously, we know that college basketball players get paid. We've known this forever.
Lonzo Ball told us that, so it's not like you're not speculating. He said it.
There's a code of omerta. Jalen Rose, who I spent just an incredible amount of time with, and who is an oversharer and tells you things that you're like, wow, I almost wish you hadn't told me that. Would never talk about who got paid at Michigan or any of that stuff. It's like these guys, once they go through it, Titus played for Ohio State. You never heard him actually talk about which guys at Ohio State might have gotten paid. Everybody makes this kind of agreement to never say anything. But we know it's happening.
Right.
So it's just been funny to watch. Like you said that Andy. So for people who don't know this story, and I don't know how you missed it, Andy Miller, this pretty successful agent, just got just got cracked down by the FBI and stuff's been leaking out. One of the things that leaked out, I think 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, was his kind of payment list of all these dudes. And the numbers were hilarious. It was like $7,200, $24,328, and it was like, how did they even come up with these numbers?
Well, it just said loans to players, and this was
loans.
Yeah, so this was Christian Dawkins, the 24-year-old runner. So we're basically taking all the stuff that's getting leaked out is from the FBI. That is leaked reports that journalists are getting. Everyone's taking it as this is the FBI putting out the information, so therefore. Yeah, that's why it's such a big story. But these are still just leaked media reports of what they have as evidence.
And we don't know. You've written about this, but we don't know why this stuff is coming out.
Yeah, we don't know where it's coming from.
There's like, what is it, 4 different possibilities?
Yeah. And we don't know where it's coming from. But also, as Tate and I have said on our podcast, this isn't necessarily like stone cold evidence. What it is, it's just one guy typed up like, hey, I paid this money to this guy. And there's no receipts. There's no bank records. There's none of that. And that's the problem with sort of all the reports that are coming out, and the reason no one's basically the schools at this point are just like throwing up middle fingers to the NCAA saying do something about this.
They're saying prove it
because all these guys that have been there have been a ton of current players that have been implicated, quote unquote. They're like listed in all these reports, and every single one of them still playing. And Sean Miller's like comes out and he's like, do something about it. I'm coaching, bitch, and like drops the mic, and that's like everyone's attitude because there's really not stone cold evidence. It's just one 24-year-old. I mean, Tate's. Tate's like 20. You understand how dumb 24
I don't even have expense reports.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like, if that were the case, like, people lie on expense reports. We said that from the start, and that was the whole point Tuesday. It was like, we're using expense reports of a 24-year-old kid as the holy grail of college basketball corruption because that's all we have. And that's a bad place to be in because you can't.
I gave Tate a $37,000 loan when he left Grantland to come work for me. You still haven't paid it back.
When I was at Grantland, I used the ESPN credit card to do all sorts of stuff, and then when I had to report to the bosses, I was like, "Yeah, it was a production meeting." So that's what that's the evidence they have is like the guy that said, "Yeah, I was meeting at the strip club, but with this guy."
And they don't even have the credit cards. Like they don't even have the actual payments, and they don't have the pay stubs.
Wait. Do you think it's a bad thing to loan a college basketball player money with the promise that he's going to pay you back? I know it's illegal, but is it a bad thing? Because I don't think it is.
It's
shady.
That's the big question that everyone has is like, who's the victim in all this?
It's like that these guys who can barely have enough money to eat when they're making money to school can get an extra 20 grand.
I guess the problem, and I'm certainly no lawyer, but I do have a Twitter account and I know how to read, so like I guess that's good enough, right? The problem, I guess, people would say is like a lot of the schools are publicly funded. They're state schools, and like where's that taxpayer money is going to bribing families, and I think that's like where an issue comes up. But yeah, like the big question of
the issue is college basketball shouldn't even exist as the sport it is with the amount of money that it makes and just what's going on. It's completely broken. It's been broken forever, and that's why people cheat.
Well, this is why Tate and I are really frustrated with how all this has gone down. Is that he and I both want players to get paid, and we felt like this was an obvious way to make that happen. Is like if you got half the teams that are in the NCAA tournament, the FBI is going to throw cuffs on their coaches, and like you can't have an NCAA tournament. So we were excited that awesome this summer the NCAA is going to look into it, actually change the model, let guys make money off their likeness. But then this reports that have been coming out have botched everything. That there's going to be like literally nobody's going to miss the NCAA tournament. There's going to be no punishments as far like no one's going to be sitting out. The NCAA does not have a mess on their hands, and so no change is going to happen. Like so, we're just going to be back to square one. It's just going to.
Could we have could Division I just be like almost like the Premier League, where you have like 40 programs or 32 programs or whatever, and all of them can pay their players. And then people can, if they play well, they get in, you get promoted, then you can pay your players. Like, I think that would actually work.
That'd be awesome.
But like Duke, UNC, Arizona, UCLA, Ohio State, like the OGs, all those teams should pay their players.
Yeah.
Like when Oden, you were buddies with Oden forever. I don't want you to spill too many secrets, but when Oden was, you knew Oden. How tall was he in the 8th grade?
He was like 6'9" in 8th grade.
How tall was he in 10th grade?
Like about 6'11". So and then he got up to about 7 foot by the time he was a senior. Yeah.
What grade was he in when girls were asking him to have sex with them but not use a condom? Like 9th grade?
7th grade.
7th grade? No, don't use a condom, Greg. No, we're fine. When did people start offering him money?
There were a lot of shady characters that started pop. A lot of guys wearing velour jumpsuits
Like
started
10th
showing
grade?
up in like 10th grade. Yeah, it was like for the longest time, it was just like all the friends and family of all the players. We go to AU tournaments, and there'd be 12 people in the stands, and then
Hey, come meet Uncle Juno.
and then right around 10th grade, it was just like, you see guys that were budding me out. Like we're walking down hallways, and we got our little circle going, and all of a sudden, like some like balding 65-year-old with a big stomach and like wearing a velour jumpsuit comes like butting in, and he's like dapping up Greg. I'm like, who the hell's this guy? A lot of those guys started popping up out of nowhere.
You should have gotten paid out of this.
I should have. Yeah,
You should have marketed yourself better. Like, listen, I have a lot of sway with Greg.
Mm-hmm.
The
I'm
bitch,
not saying I can convince him
Yeah.
where to go, but 10 grand might help me.
Greg. So Greg, I would say is like Jalen in that he shares a lot of things with me, and I've asked him about paying players once, or not once. I mean, like a million times. I've asked him when we were both under the influence of substances, where he would not, like he would just let it,
but
like,
he would just spill it.
He's told me stuff that is a million times worse than, hey, I took like $1,000 from a thing, and he's never once told me that he got money.
I'm telling you,
I
it's like
actually
the
believe that he never
mafia.
actually got money. Yeah,
It really is. It's like the mafia. It's like you just don't talk about it.
yeah.
I mean, the one thing I ever got from Jalen, I won't say the school, but he always said there was this school when he played that was famous for, it was the same price for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like $50K in an Escalade or $50K in a Cadillac or something, but that was just a deal. It was non-negotiable. It was like almost how we did 30 for 30, where it's like, it's $500K to do documentary. We're not negotiating. That's the contract.
Yeah.
And that just became the school. So when you would go there, everybody at the school was driving an Escalade because they had the local dealership. Mm-hmm. They could launder whatever. Mm-hmm. And then everybody got certain money. But the shady stuff that I don't even know is technically legal, but it's like in blue chips when Penny Hardaway's mom gets the house and the job. Or like the high school coach gets hired on the coaching staff.
Oh, that happens or
the dad or the uncle gets a job.
Beasley.
Yeah, I mean, we know this stuff has been happening. It's not even fun to joke about. It's the fact of college basketball. So I'm kind of amazed that people are so alarmed by this.
Yeah, that's the weird thing.
It's like, whoa, my God. It's like, yeah, this is college basketball.
I think that's what we're tired of too, because every single year it seems like there's some huge breaking story. It's like college basketball. This is the sea change you've been waiting for. And then we get these stories, and then you actually read them. And you parse through it, and you go, "There's really nothing here." I mean, it's a juicy. It sounds like a great headline, and it does fit if you put the pieces together in a certain way, but it's not necessarily fact.
Well, even so, the Sean Miller thing, the claim was that he talked about paying DeAndre Ayton $100 grand.
Yes,
Not that even that he did, that he talked about it.
Yeah.
First of all, I think we all agree that's an insanely good price for 1 year for a franchise center.
Ask any NBA
It's
GM.
great.
Brian Bowen was going for $100,000 to. So this kid.
Do you win extra money if you win the title?
Yeah.
Is there's an extra prize, right?
The coach's
Isn't it like a few million bucks?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like bonus clauses in the
huge
coaches.
bonuses.
I thought you meant for the players.
Well, I think for
the player. Yeah.
I think the universities get a prize too. I think.
Yeah.
don't
The
they?
universities get TV money. Yeah. The coaches get a bonus.
So how is that not worth $100 grand to get the best center in college basketball
It
for a
absolutely
year?
is.
Yeah.
And that's
So
why
you arguably worth $500 grand.
That's why this is never like you can't even if you clean up if the FBI had the ability and the NCAA together they had the ability to take every single guy who's currently coaching in college basketball and every single player who's taken money, every coach that's cheated, and they pluck them out and they put in like honest guys like Tate and I who would just do it the right way. Even if they had the ability to do that, corruption is going to return like in the snap of a finger because, like you just said, you have so much incentive to cheat and it's so
too much
easy to
money.
do it.
Yeah.
So it's never going to go away until you actually
It's
pay
like
the
those
players.
people that game their podcast stats with the subscribe, unsubscribe, and like the
present company excluded. Right?
Yeah, we don't do that.
We certainly would
do that
never.
at the Ringer. Or the people that they ask the people to post messages on their boards. When we take over Pepperdine, when you guys are co-coaches and I'm the athletic director.
The job is open.
So here's my case for Pepperdine. We did this. Actually, hold on. Let me talk about BMW first. The all-new BMW X3 was not built for everyone. You didn't take a car this time, Titus, right?
Did not, no.
You're living close to
I have
the
no
office
car.
time around. The BMW X3, too bad, because it was engineered for those who share the desire of more passion, more ambition, more making every second count. The new BMW X3, plain capable of doing more. And when I think about athletes who have passion, ambition, class, just it's superior to the competition, you know who I think? Larry Legend.
Oh yeah.
The legend Larry Bird.
Oh yeah.
Who was better than him? used every possible advancement in training, dieting. No, actually, he didn't do any of that. He was so talented. He drank beer during the summers, but he started working in the 87-88 season. All of a sudden, the legend showed up. He was in great shape. He lost 20 pounds. He had this follow-up dunk over the rim. That's what happens when you reach a level of performance that places you as the best, when you have the desire and the drive to win and keep winning. The BMW X3 capable of more with the level of performance you expect from a BMW iDrive 6.0 with intuitive touchscreen, available safety features like the active blind spot detection, next generation xDrive intelligent all-wheel drive. Pretty soon, it'll be one touch of a button. They'll be listening to our podcast in cars. Very exciting. The all-new BMW X3, built to handle whatever road terrain or adventures ahead, no matter what. Test drive the all-new BMW X3 at your local BMW center today. BMW only makes one thing, the ultimate driving machine. So here's my case for Pepperdine. We did this podcast on One Shining Podcast in December. It was a two-parter. The 12 schools that should just be better at college basketball. We picked 12. Two of them were Pepperdine and Loyola Marymount, which I was very excited about. Now with college, everybody's so over the top now with the safety of the students, and rightfully so. When my daughter goes to college, I want her to be in the safest environment possible. When I was in college 30 years ago, nothing at all was safe about it, and it was like the wild, wild west. This is steering toward Pepperdine. It's Pepperdine, very religious school. You're not allowed to drink on campus. I think within 10 years, nobody will be allowed to drink on campus. Pepperdine's ahead of the game already. In Malibu, on the ocean. Good conference. You could win it every year. You could become the Gonzaga of the Pacific Ocean. And now with you guys in charge, I think we have something.
And with BMW involved, the official sponsor of Pepperdine basketball.
Yeah, all the players could drive BMWs on the PCH.
I dig it. The job is open. The Pepperdine job is it
I
opened
think that's
up
the best job in college. I really do.
I would agree with that.
You get to be in Malibu every day. What's better than that?
I
You
absolutely
don't have
agree.
to deal with drunk kids on campus.
I would do Loyola Marymount and Pepperdine would be the OG jobs for me for just like weather, location, the ability to sell kids, that stuff. But the Pepperdine thing. Do you think they're the most likely candidate out of all the ones we talked about to make a jump, or do you have another pick? Because we got a lot of feedback for those podcasts.
I'm trying to remember the ones that we had.
People like the San Francisco
San Francisco
one,
is
too.
the one that comes to mind. Houston was on our list, right? They're actually really good now.
Houston's having a
ranked
great
right now.
season. Nebraska was the other one that
We
had.
kind of laid the groundwork for Houston.
Yeah, Houston.
No, I
we don't wanna
vetoed
take all credit.
Nebraska.
Yeah. By the way, you vetoed Nebraska and Penn State, and they're both having like their best years of all time. Like those two teams.
Their
right
point
now,
guard Tony Carr,
they're red hot.
He's just like roasted Ohio State both times, and he's
Penn
now
State's
gonna
got
be,
a first-round
He's
pick,
going to be a first round pick. He's like a 6'5" point guard, Tony Carr.
Is that Big Ten?
Yeah,
Big
Big
Ten.
Ten. Yeah.
Which is terrible.
That's this weekend.
Yes.
As for the smaller ones, though, Pepperdine, I think Pepperdine's got a shot. I think Pepperdine's path is getting a disgraced coach like Rick Pitino and plucking one of these FBI guys,
Or
and just
bring
giving-
Romar back.
Bring Lorenzo Romar back.
I think Patino is the great white whale right now.
Yeah.
He would come in, he would do whatever it takes to redeem himself, and he's kind of overqualified to coach any mid-major, right?
Right.
It's your perfect guy.
Patino would be the guy. He would definitely have success there because he nobody wants to like be vindicated, I guess would be the phrase, more than Rick Pitino right now.
I remember Jerry Tarkanian after he had to leave UNLV. And, when we talk about Bagman, I think the conversation really starts with him. But he went to Long Beach State in the mid-'90s, and it was awesome. It was like everybody who nobody else wanted to touch, Tark was going after. And they had this locker room fight where somebody pulled a sword on somebody. It was either a locker room or dormitory, and there was this samurai sword involved. I mean, it was like the greatest. But we need that again. I feel like Pitino can bring that back for us.
Patino would be the guy. Yeah, for sure.
Does Pitino ever coach again?
He thinks so.
Oh, yeah. He wants to coach badly. He's like in tears.
He thinks he can get a bigger job than Pepperdine. I saw some report that Pitino was hoping to be involved in the UConn discussion if they let go of Ollie. And that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
You know who needs to get the Pepperdine job is Mata.
Yeah.
My coach at Ohio State got fired. He's got the beach life like down. He just dreams about being on the. I need to talk to him about that.
And then
that
you could come out to LA.
Yeah, and then I'd come out
Fab.
here. That would get me out here. That's
Wait
how
a-
I get into Pepperdine.
Wait a second. You know I don't follow college basketball till March. Kevin Ollie is like his job's in danger.
Oh yeah.
yes,
Oh my
yes.
god.
Oh my
No, it's not even in danger. It's dead.
He was like the hottest free agent. Remember?
Yeah.
When he re-signed with UConn, like the NBA teams are coming after him.
Yeah.
Cleveland was trying to get him.
Remember
Yeah.
the Thunder?
Now
They
his
were like, bring him
career's
back
over?
to the Thunder.
Yeah, the Thunder was trying to get him. So it's done now.
It's done. It's over.
What
Johnny.
happened?
He is not good.
It's been really bad.
Well,
Who is good? Are there 5 good college coaches?
there.
6? Because I
Yeah.
watched Villanova with nephew Kyle the other day,
And you were Jay
and they
Wright.
couldn't even do an
Yeah.
inbounds pass in the last minute.
So-
they 4 turnovers or near turnovers.
I think the problem with Kevin Ollie is he sort of took an NBA mindset to college, and they're very different animals. I mean, I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell the listeners, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like a different animal, and you can't really do that. We make fun of like Patrick Ewing and Chris Mullin all the time because you can't. Like Ewing is more into it, I would say, in his defense. Like he's actually embracing it, but
it's hard to believe those didn't work
there's
out.
there's a thing of like guys who just, I don't know. You're a former player. You're like, I just show up. You know, I've been around basketball my whole life. I can do this. But like college coaching is like,
Yeah, you think the cloud of you being there and being a presence is going to affect all these kids, but you actually have to literally coach them and get in and actually teach them things.
You're teaching. You're
Yeah.
not coaching.
Yeah,
you're like
teaching.
you're taking kids that don't know what the hell they're doing, have never run like a structured offense in their life because their whole life they've been 3 inches taller and more athletic
just
and
give
can
me the
dunk on
ball.
everybody.
Yeah.
And now you have to actually like coach, like teach them how to do fundamentals,
set
And
screens,
yeah.
like stupid things like that, and it's hard for
Yeah.
Mullen seems like he's very, I think Patrick Ewing actually is teaching these things,
Right, yeah,
which is
Patrick Ewing's
amazing.
trying, but-
It's
Wow.
great for Patrick
Yeah,
Ewing.
Patrick Ewing's trying. Mullen's just showing up in a sweatsuit and is like, "I'm Chris Mullen, bitch."
It's like welcome to
be
the
here.
Garden, baby.
Mullen's a good hang, but that can only go so far as a college coach. Yeah, I was saying to you last night that when there is like an overqualified college coach, the guy just goes to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stevens, I don't know. Like for what Stevens has at the Celtics versus what's the greatest college basketball job? UNC, Duke.
Yeah, Kansas would be up there too.
Yeah,
Kansas.
Kentucky's probably
Those
number
four.
one.
Kentucky?
Kentucky's probably number one. They have the most money and like.
Would you
they're
rather be the
rabid
coach
fan
of the Celtics or would you rather run UNC?
I'm biased.
base. Yeah,
What, but
I'll
would you
have
want to
pick.
deal with one and dones every year and
Well, the good news,
all that
It
stuff?
depends. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends. Like it depends if are you a good coach is the question. Because like if you're, I would rather be a god if I'm like Roy. If I'm Roy Williams is like a god, but Brad Stevens has it pretty nice too. Yeah,
I think Brad made the best choice because Butler was going to have to decide if they're going to get in the game and like be a program, a top tier program,
Get some
which
bags?
means yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
right.
And he is a private school, and they would have been fine. And Butler's actually handled it pretty well. I thought Holtman was great at Butler. He was like the perfect guy to come
Yeah.
in after Stevens. I don't know how that worked out so well, but
Could there be 2 Division I things, not the Premier League, but like the one league where it's just, or the conference or the extended whatever, where it's just like Butler and programs like that we know are okay, and then everyone else is like a free for all. It's like Escape from New York.
Yeah, have like the clean programs and
yeah, it's
Like the other
Butler
program-
in the Ivy League.
They're not even attached to the NCAA. They're just on their own island somewhere.
Speaking
I
of
think that would work.
Speaking of college and NBA coaches, how's Billy Donovan doing? I don't pay enough attention. I feel like people wanted. He needs to come back to college.
That's my
right?
UConn pick.
I want him back in college because he was
He's
a
a tweener.
great college coach, and I feel like the NBA people hate him. And
Yeah,
it's
he's
like,
a
just come back
tweener.
home, Billy.
Yeah.
We loved you in college.
I want him to come back to UConn.
He's kind of too good for college, but he's not quite good enough in the NBA.
Yeah.
So he's in no man's land, but I think he's getting paid a lot.
But he also coaches the Thunder like a college coach. Like he's very
Yeah,
like
right.
he'll pull people to the side and try to talk to him, and they're like, "All right, dude, like
Yeah.
it's my job. Get
Yeah.
away from me."
Right. Westbrook's like, just can you tell the 4 other guys to stand there, and I'm going to try to get a shot. So we have the NBA draft coming up on our Ringer NBA Show podcast, Draft Class, every Friday, which you guys are going to make appearances on. But the top 5 right now, I don't want to talk about Doncic.
Doncic.
Yeah, we don't.
Doncic.
I don't know
'Cause
enough about him.
We don't know. We just
Yeah.
know we're watching him on YouTube basically. But you guys both love DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton's number one.
Yes.
Yeah, not even close.
Who would
to
you
me.
compare him to?
I'm not good at this. I don't know.
I said Young Ewing with
yeah,
a better
yeah, I
shot.
could see
Oh,
that. Yeah,
Young
Yeah,
Ewing.
with the jump, but
I loved Young Ewing.
his jump shot is so fluid though. Like that's the thing.
It's the
Ayton is
perfect
like,
shot.
He's got perfect form and yeah.
Yeah.
So we
yeah,
think
yeah.
he's a sure thing.
I think he's at like his floor is like he'll make a couple All-Star teams at least. Like he's 7'3" with I don't know, he's chiseled out of stone.
And it seems like all the players like him and the coaches like him. They said his family's great.
The only thing I can't figure out about him is like his defense. He feels like he should be averaging like 2.5 blocks a game. And
I'm telling you, he doesn't care.
Like, he just doesn't. Yeah,
yeah.
That's the one thing that's kind of weird to me. That doesn't. And he's not like catching lobs and dunking all over people quite as much as he should. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, yeah, he's pretty obviously number one.
So for the listeners who are NBA fans who also enjoy March Madness and filling out their March Madness pool,
yeah,
Ayton on Arizona, you'd recommend a test drive.
I would recommend watching Arizona for a lot of reasons. Because the Sean Miller thing, like Arizona's the nobody believes in us team. Everyone's
Arizona, I got your backs, man.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you.
It's the best story in college basketball.
Yeah.
It really is
by far. It's got everything. It's got the FBI, the number one player in the country.
They also have a kid who failed a drug test because I don't even know. We can get
Alonzo
into that.
Trier.
They had a kid fail a drug test.
Oh yeah, I saw that story.
And then he got cleared, and then he like the drug was coming out of his system, and he tested it again, and he failed. But it was like the remnants that were still there from like 6 months ago. So they
what kind
him
of
again.
drug is that?
It's
deer antler spray.
It's wild. So like Arizona has the adversity stacked against them. And
I think it's hilarious that Steve Kerr and Popovich are like the great spokesman of the league right now, and they talk about social issues and stuff like that. And Steve Kerr, who is just a huge Arizona guy, he went there, obviously loves it, and now they're embroiled in this horrible scandal. I keep waiting for him to speak out on it. So we love Ayton. We love Colin Sexton, who's going to go like awesome. 5 spots too late.
Yeah.
What were you saying he was? He was the Kemba guy?
He's a Kemba guy. Like
explain what that is to the listeners.
There's a guy. So pretty much the only way I think individual guys can carry teams to titles is if they have great defenses as well. And in March, so like the formula I guess that UConn created with Kemba Walker and Shabazz Napier is like just play great team defense and then have this guy you can give the ball to and say go get us points. And that's good enough to get it done in the NCAA tournament because like teams
score on bad shots.
When you fill out your bracket, you get lured into like, oh wow, this team scores 106 points a game. But the way the NCAA tournament is completely different than NBA. Like the Warriors can have an off night. There's still a 7-game series. They'll kick your ass the next 4 games, and now the series is over. But in the NCAA, you see these hot offensive teams suck. So I always look out for the teams that have like we play great defense and we have this one stud who we can give the ball to. And Alabama fits that with Sexton.
And Avery Johnson, once upon a time, beat Popovich in a Game 7.
Yeah.
He made the NBA Finals. His team got robbed by the refs. He won like 66 games the following year. Like, it's not like he was a bad NBA coach.
And they lost to that Warriors team, like the destined Warriors team, the 8 seed when they were the 1 seed.
He's another great hang, by the way. I did a couple countdowns with him.
Yeah.
He's the greatest guy ever. He had one of my favorite countdown stories. We were going to hang out after a show with Jalen, and then he got some email. He's like, guys, I got to cancel. Popovich is having a team dinner, and I got to go. And it was like he was still on the team. And then Jalen and I, and we were so fascinated. We were like, so you're just always a Spurs? He's like, yeah, I'm still on the team. Awesome. He was like, even when he coached with the Mavs, like they would have dinner after. Like, that's kind of what we have here at the Ringer. Everyone's on the team.
Well, it could be a Spur for life thing with Colin Sexton. You know, they need a point guard. Pop has just got Avery there, scouting for him.
The Spurs are Jalen Brunson waiting to happen with the 24th pick.
Jalen Brunson is
mortal lock. He's gonna go like 20 spots too late. Wait, what were we talking about?
Draft guys.
Draft guys. Mo Bamba, you guys are down on.
Mo Bamba, I understand why people like him, but in watching him through like a college lens, it's just I could do without it. Like I'm not excited about Mo Bamba. I see his length, I see his shot blocking. It's like I see why you'd be into him.
Seems like a great workout guy.
He hasn't made an impression on college basketball, but that doesn't mean that he's going to go to the combine of the NBA and everyone's going to say this guy is.
They're going to lose their minds.
A physical marvel, and he's going to go top 5. So it doesn't matter.
I can't look at any center now without wondering what happens when they're in the NBA and they get switched. Like to me, that's like the number one thing. You throw away every other thing. It's what happens when you're playing the Warriors and Curry and Zaza get you in a switch, and all of a sudden you have to guard Stephen Curry 25 feet.
That would be my fear with Ayton, I guess, is that he's not great at that right now. And if Tate seems to believe that he just doesn't care. But,
well, I mean, the defense is Embiid has similar issues, but the Sixers, their defensive ratings and stuff are really good. But like in the All-Star game, LeBron's team was just constantly trying to get Embiid in his switches.
Right.
And it's just the reality of how basketball is played.
I guess
now.
you could go with the theory like you give up 25 points but score 30. You're still doing
plus
your
5.
You're still doing
That's
your
how
job.
I feel. That's
So,
why I like Enes
who cares?
Kanter.
Yeah.
Well, Enes is the perfect example.
Enes puts up points, man.
He's constantly trying to beat his own man who's scoring on him every time.
Who else do you like? Give us some other sleepers.
Sleepers.
Or not like lottery, like what Donovan Mitchell.
One of the guys that I'm high on is like Jaren Jackson, who I know is not like a sleeper. He's in the top 5, but I really like him.
But I think
would push for him
some
to go
people have
higher.
Mo Bamba over him.
Yeah, I would not do that. I like Jaren Jackson, Michigan State more. I like Miles Bridges, by the way. He's kind of like he came back. He could have been a top 10 pick last year. I don't know where he's projected now.
Classic
Like
stock.
15.
Yeah, classic stock cooled just because he came back for another college year.
He's left-handed Carmelo. I mean, that's like exactly who he is.
Did you like
he's very
Donovan
good.
Mitchell last year?
Yeah, he kind of like Patino runs a system, a pretty obvious system at Louisville, and Mitchell was good in it, but he was sort of handcuffed a little bit. So I'm not gonna lie and say like I saw him being this good, but it makes sense to me that he is this good because he was like because that's the other thing with college, like you get put in these structures, and that's why it's why a team that Bill Self had Joel Embiid and Andrew Wiggins on the same team and they lost in the second round to Stanford because like you just I don't know. You run your systems and you try to fit guys
it's a
into
system
these.
over players.
Yeah. So
Who do you like? Anybody else you like, Tate?
Well, I like Sexton to be sort of like what Donovan Mitchell was, but luckily he's at Alabama and they sort of let him.
I
have the
love
keys.
Sexton.
yeah, Sexton's awesome.
I love the fact that I like the way the coaches and the teammates talk about him.
I can't believe we've got this far though, talking about draft guys, and we haven't even talked about Trey yet.
Nah. Let's take a break. We're going to talk about for over 30 years, Just for Men has created easy gray care solutions for men. And now Just for Men providing hair regrowth solution as well. There's some college basketball coaches that could be helped with this. Formulated with the #1 dermatologist recommended ingredient proven to regrow hair, 5% minoxidil. Hair regrowth for Just for Men is an easy-to-use topical solution that's clinically proven to help regrow hair. It reactivates hair follicles to stimulate regrowth, perfect for men with thinning hair. Plus, with a unique precision spray applicator, this is hair regrowth made easy. Simply spray in, sit back, move on. Start winning over thinning. Look for 1 and 3 month supplies of hair regrowth in the shave aisle, or just visit hairregrowth.com. Use promo code regrowth25 to get 25% off your purchase. That's hairregrowth.com. Use promo code regrowth25 for 25% off. Speaking of regrowing, how do we regrow Trey Young's draft stock? Is this like a Markelle Fultz thing that's going on? He's the best college guard I ever saw in my life, and now he's in his own head.
It's very sad.
Is this just what's happening now with basketball, where you get so much attention immediately, and if one thing goes wrong,
throw this in with the ESPN hatred for college basketball fans. Like, forget the Arizona thing. The ESPN ruined Trey Young, and that's the thing.
I feel like I might have ruined him a little bit too. I had all these crazy hyperbole tweets about him. I don't think I helped.
But it's also the thing where he was all over. We need a word for this. It's like a PTSD for like being just overexposed. Like what happened to Johnny Manziel, what happened to Trey Young, what's happened to Markelle Fultz. Like all these guys that are all over ESPN for a little while, and then they get in their own head, and then they're just done.
Yeah,
I don't know how you avoid it.
It's not even like he just looks like a shell of his former. He looks like he has no soul in his body anymore.
Everything.
He's just like. He's not even playing basketball anymore. It's very sad.
I got worried that, and I was texting you guys that weekend when they played at West Virginia.
Yeah.
And West Virginia just had the perfect team to throw at them. Their crowd's crazy. They have an awesome home crowd. And they kind of laid down the blueprint for what to do. Mm-hmm. Just keep sending dudes at them, keep making them work, beat the shit out of them. And that concerned me, but I didn't see this coming. He looked like Steph Curry for a month.
I mean, if you're being optimistic about his pro career, you could make the argument that his teammates in the NBA will probably be better than his teammates in Oklahoma.
And he'll have more space.
Yeah. So like that's part of the problem is like people figured out just like
we're guarding Trey Young, not Oklahoma.
Yeah, his teammates are not. They were good for a little while, but that's part of it too, and it's just kind of snowballed into itself and. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's sad.
Tate's convinced he's going to the Cavs at pick like 6.
Yeah.
6 or 7, yeah. Right around there. Right where LeBron wants him. I thought that Trey Young, you said he was like Steph Curry. I think it's a lot like Steph Curry in 2016 when he came back and everyone was like hitting the shit out of him and he was trying to get over it in his head. He was trying to like prove himself he was 100% again. They're doing that to Trey Young. Like, he just
I don't understand
lost.
the fascination with trying to find the next Steph Curry. I feel like this is a very.
I don't think there's anyone that's going to be like
That's what
Steph.
I mean. It's like it's degrading to Steph to be like, oh, we can find, just take the guy that shoots and is quick, and it's like, do you
But I
understand
do think
how good
there's
this man is?
models of that can, like Damian Lillard. I was watching him last night against Minnesota, and he's very Steph-ish, like just the way they use him. I mean, he's not Steph,
Yeah.
but there is that model for the really good shooting 3-point guard who makes 40% of his threes, who can play slash and kick, and who could take 10 threes a game. Like, I think we're going to keep seeing that guy. He's just not going to be Steph.
Right. But I think like you see like a Trey Young, you're like, oh, he shoots it from 30 feet, and he's kind of got a quick handle. That's Steph Curry. We have to take him number one now, and it's like, well, what if he's not all the way there?
He reminded me more of Steve Nash,
Yeah.
but just with a little Steph in there. But the way he kind of played and ran the game, and that's why I'm not giving up on him. I will buy all your Trey Young stock, America.
Yeah. I mean, you get him around guys that actually know what they're doing, and a coach that like isn't just, I don't know.
Tell
Nothing
me,
against Lon Kruger, but
why isn't the St. John's kid considered to be one of the best guys in college?
Shamari Pons, yeah.
that I don't. I mean, he's
Because that guy's fucking awesome.
yeah.
And it's in New York, and he's like a point guard in New York, which is the classic.
He's really fun to watch.
I guess they don't win. That's part of the problem.
But they have two of the
When
most signature wins
yeah.
of the season, which is crazy.
I like that guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's another one I could see the Spurs drafting. Like, oh, of course.
He reminds me of like the second round pick that everyone's like, oh yeah, that guy's going to be great. It's like Draymond, Malcolm Brogdon, like the 36th pick or whatever. And you're like, oh, this guy's great. Like Sterling Brown last year from SMU. Those guys that come out, you're like, oh, this guy's an NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we keep screwing up the draft.
yeah.
Even last year, and we have so much info and we're so good at this stuff now, and there are 19 screw-ups. Like Kuzma went to 27, and 5 guards went before Donovan Mitchell, and it's just the same shit happens every year. I wrote about Anthony Davis today on The Ringer, and one of the parts of the piece was just about like there's only been 3 sure thing number 1 overall picks in the last 25 years. It was him, LeBron, and forgetting the third.
Was it Blake?
No. Shaq? No, Duncan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I can't even remember my own piece. Duncan, LeBron, and Davis. And Davis just kind of jumped up a level. Boogie went down, and Davis just went up a level and is more importantly healthy. But you were saying that by far he's the best college basketball one-and-done guy you've ever seen.
Yeah, by far, he might be one of the. He had the single greatest college season that I think anybody. I mean, he won Freshman of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, National Player of the Year, Final Four Outstanding Player. They lost 2 games that year. One was Vanderbilt, the Kevin Stallings special. The other was a last-second shot at IU. And that Kentucky team, like when it was happening, when they won the national title, I remember thinking like this might be one of the best teams ever. This like is this team better than the '96 Kentucky team? Like where do they stack up all time? And now you're looking back on them, you're like, that team wasn't even that good, and they went 38-2 just because of Anthony Davis.
And we just assumed
He made how many people did he get into the first round?
Right, yeah.
Terrence Jones, Marcus Teague.
yeah,
Who is Deron
MKG number 2.
Deron Lamb got drafted. I don't know if he went first round, but Deron Lamb was a shooting guard there. He was pretty good, but he was a good college guy. But yeah, he got drafted high and had like a cup of coffee in the NBA. So.
I remember thinking he was going to be good. It's so hard to tell with those Kentucky guys because
Yeah.
their offense, they always have a guy like that every year.
Well, it's like James Young, Deron Lamb, all those
Yeah.
guys that come out and you're like, oh, that guy's a scorer. I want
Right.
to have him. And I'm scared Monk might have that thing now, or I'm losing my mind.
Davis averaged, I want to say it was 4.7 blocks per game.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I was going crazy. House and I think we talked about it on the pod too a lot, but like I just was like, this fucking guy, like I never thought I'd see Kevin McHale again, and he just seemed like an evolutionary Kevin McHale, but now his ceiling's way higher than that. But the New Orleans had 1 and Charlotte had 2, which was part of what I wrote about today. And we knew it was a chasm. But when Charlotte took 2, like I went back and read my draft diary, I really was happy with that.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a great pick. That guy's going to be like one of the best defenders in the league. He'll figure it out. He's such a good athlete. And now I guess he got hurt, so it's not 100% fair, but Bradley Beal was 3rd. And Bradley Beal was young. He was one of those guys. He was like an 18-year-old freshman in college. And
everyone was already saying he was going to be Ray Allen. And that's what...
And it actually happened.
He is, yeah. He basically has
he's
the same
Ray Allen
numbers.
2.0.
Yeah.
But that's still a massive drop-off, even if they had taken Rayon, but man, that is when you come that close. I was telling you guys last night about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Neil Walk. It was a coin flip, Phoenix and Milwaukee, and Neil Walk was out of the league in like 4 years. But when you come that close to somebody and then you don't get them, it's I don't know how you recover.
Sure.
Odin Durant is a little bit like that too, where it's the reverse of it, but
Too soon.
Portland could have had Durant.
Yeah, and you think
He was
about
sitting there.
what if you had?
We knew he was this good.
What if you had Lillard, McCollum, Durant?
Yeah, maybe. I guess to me, Lillard was the basketball gods doing a makeup call.
Yeah, for Brandon Roy.
Here's the thing with Odin, though. If he comes along 10 years later with all the stuff we have now, I think he plays for like 20 years.
Yeah.
They would have figured out the legs that weren't the same size thing immediately. He would have had cushions when he was in the 8th grade, and he would have been fine.
He's the thing. I guess I don't need to rehash the Odin Durant thing.
No.
But I looking back on that, I don't think anyone thought Durant wasn't going to be this good, and I think that speaks to how good Greg was. It's not like oh wow, Durant's better than we thought. I think everyone knew when Durant was coming out of college, like this guy is going to be an MVP.
Yeah, he's definitely special.
He's super special.
He was a national player of the
and
year.
despite of all of that, we still believe Greg Oden is better. Mm-hmm. And that just speaks to, like, I don't know.
It also speaks to the signs of the time that a big guy was still going to be the number one pick.
Yeah.
We're still in the Dwight Howard world of thinking where if we have a big guy, we have to take him number one.
I know there are a lot of younger listeners that just know Greg as, like, the broken down guy. And that's like a weird transition for me to, like, move into the older thing. And, like, there are people that don't remember Greg being that great.
But just Google it. Like, you can watch it. Ohio State, Greg Oden, Mike Conley.
I was Team Durant that whole year, and when the championship game happened, and Oden was fucking awesome that game.
With one hand, he had like a broken wrist.
He had a broken wrist. He's going against Noah and Horford and was just like taking them on one up.
Like 27-12 or something in the
after that
game.
game, I was like, I fucking love Kevin Durant, but this guy Oden is awesome too. I don't know. It comes down to like if you're betting your life on it, who could you get 15 years out of versus what's the ceiling of each guy.
You ruined me too, by the way. When I remember being in college with Greg and all that, and I'm reading what people are saying about Greg and the draft and stuff. And when you would talk about how he would walk funny and how injury prone, the concept of a guy being injury prone never entered my mind until Greg happened. And I started like, you're making this thing about how his legs are different lengths. I'm like, is that really a thing? Like, are these things that happen? But I guess it speaks to your point that, like, medicine back then, these weren't things that like trainers talk to you about. It's just like, if you have a sore knee, just throw a pack of ice on it, take some Advil, and you'll be fine.
I think his generation is the last generation where they couldn't figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
And now I think if he comes, look at the guy like Steph Curry. If he's 10 years earlier, I think he plays for 6 years. He's out of the league because I think his ankles completely fall apart. Mm-hmm. And now it's like you read the stories about him, and he was having all these ankle issues. It was not going to get better. But then they literally retaught him how to walk, run. They do all these exercises. All they did was strengthen his legs for whatever reason. Were putting this massive amount of pressure on his ankles, and they retrained his legs how to kind of operate. They never would have been able to do that in 2003.
Yeah. Right.
So, it's too bad. I wish we could go back to 06 in a time machine and do a bunch of things, but one of the things I would do is grab Oden and just.
Who's the all-time injury what-if guy? I know this gets brought up a lot.
It's got to be
Oden's in the discussion, but
isn't Grant?
Grant Hill.
Grant Hill's up there,
and Penny.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was trying to think of the ones that
probably Grant Hill and
Brandon
Penny.
Roy.
Brandon Roy to me was one that I still can't believe that it played out like it did.
Bernard King's a good one because he was basically putting up 35 a night when he blew out his ACL. For me, that the number one, the best guy I ever saw that I just feel like just had bad luck was Penny. Mm-hmm. Penny was unbelievable. He was this 6'7" point guard who was like, he really could have been a cross between like Magic Johnson and three other people. And he was in the finals when he was like 20.
Yeah.
And he was just, or 21. He was just so good. Grant Hill was another one. Grant Hill was amazing. And the Grant Hill, he has a couple late 90s years where you just look at the stats and you're like, oh, wow. That guy was putting up 26, 9, and 8,
There's this great interview I was watching of Jordan in 96, and this is when he's coming back to basketball, and they ask him who like the next Jordan is, and he goes, Penny Hardaway, and if it's not Penny, I'll give it to Scotty. And if it's not Scotty, I'll give it to Grant. And it's like, Scotty's his teammate.
Right.
And then it's like Grant.
They really tried to make Grant happen, so there's a little backlash. And this was pre-internet too. Mm-hmm. But it was like everyone was so on that next Jordan corner. And what's funny is, that was the first year I had my website. I went all in on Kobe.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the guy. It's going to be Kobe. This guy's special. In the first couple of years, I have all these pro Kobe columns. Thank God they're not on the internet.
By the way, that's one of the refreshing things as a guy who kind of observes the NBA from afar and just pops in every so often to watch games. I like that people don't seem to be trying to find the next. I mean, we just brought up the next Steph, but there's not a universal. I remember growing up until basically Kobe hit his peak. It was who's the next Jordan, and that was it. That was all anyone cared about. Was like, is this guy like? You just take any good guy. You're like, is Kevin Durant the next Jordan? And you're like, no, he doesn't even look like. What are you talking
Grant Hill
about?
was really ridiculous.
But now we've reached a point where it feels like is he the next LeBron? Is he the next Steph? Is he the next Durant? The next, and like you have like 6 or 7 guys that you kind of do the next thing with. So that's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that Tate, you better sit down for this one. I think that speaks to how great Michael Jordan was.
Oh God,
we were so nervous.
We
We were so nervous about life after MJ that we were like, how are we going to replace this god that's passed through our lives?
I see what's
We're not
happening.
doing that with LeBron.
The greatest athlete of the 20th century.
You bring the Ohioan in here so you could double team them 2-on-1 here. My problem with you guys talking about LeBron and Jordan is that you're never. I guess Tate sort of is because you're a Carolina guy, but you're never praising Jordan.
I'm always praising
there's
Jordan.
always the takedown of LeBron.
No.
And I just.
But the irony is, Tate blindly and unconditionally loves Jordan the same way like I love my dad.
Right, he does. He absolutely does.
But he's a Charlotte Hornets fan. And Jordan has completely destroyed the Hornets over the last 10 years. He's been one of the least successful owners we have. And Tate's pretending this is happening in an alternate universe. He's like, he's had some wins too and some good stuff.
He's trying.
He's trying. That's a good one. He's trying. That's a good one.
Yeah.
He's trying.
I just love that he's an
Kevin
owner.
Ollie, he's trying at UConn. He's trying.
I think the problem is, and every time this comes up, you think I'm trying to put down LeBron. I don't think it's fair LeBron has to get compared to MJ, which we've said multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think that LeBron should be compared to Kareem, which is a much more flattering comparison.
He should be Kareem and Karl Malone should be the comparisons right now.
But you're scared to like compliment LeBron because then he starts infringing on Jordan's.
When they beat the Warriors, when they beat the 73-9 Warriors, that was the first time I ever conceded that LeBron could eclipse Jordan in some capacity. But the Warriors are a dynasty. Like there were no other dynasties during Jordan's time.
LeBron's most Jordan-esque play, do you know what it was? The most Jordan-like moment of his career.
Game 6 in Boston when they were down.
That was good, but no. That's
the one
in the
that stands
top
out
4.
to me. What about the Pistons game when he was like the younger LeBron?
Also good, but no. It was goading. It was goading Draymond into punching him in the nuts. Because watching that game, and I remember I watched that in Kimmel's office with Sal, and we had this big Warriors bet. Mm-hmm. And that game was going on, and it became clear the Warriors were going to win. And we were talking about it in the office, like, I guarantee they're going to try to get Draymond this extra thing. And they were clearly trying to figure out how to goad him. And stupid Draymond finally got goaded and hit LeBron in the nuts. And LeBron, that was like a genius Jordan-like move.
Yeah, that's something Jordan and Kobe
Jordan
would
have
do.
totally done that. So
yeah.
Kobe would have done it too.
Yeah.
That's the extra gene.
Anything to win.
Hey, let's talk about Winc. My wife loves wine. She loves whining about my faults. She loves wine. I'm so glad I signed her up for Winc. It's a personalized wine membership that recommends wine specifically for me based on the results of my palate profile quiz. What a great idea for a holiday gift. Their wine experts match wines to your personal taste and ship them right to your door for as little as $13 a bottle. Winc works directly with winemakers and growers from all over the world to create delicious wine and deliver it right to your door. Each month, new delicious wines. I like getting the Pinots. Sign up for Winc right now. Gain immediate insider access to the best fine wine from all over the world. No membership fees. Skip any month. Cancel anytime. Right now, Winc is offering my listeners $20 off your first shipment. All you have to do is go to trywinc with a C. Trywinc.com/BS. Valentine's Day's over. Mother's Day, Father's Day, all that stuff's coming up. Good time to send some people some wine. Check that out. Trywinc.com/BS. All right, we're going to call Kevin Clark. He is at the Combine in Titus's homeland, Indiana. All right, on the phone right now, Kevin Clark from The Ringer NFL show, and from Orlando, in that order. Right now, he is in Indiana for the NFL Combine, and we thought we would call you because, not just because Titus is from Indiana, but because it's America's heartland. It's the real capital of the United States. It's the basketball capital of the world. I love Indiana. What's it like in Indiana, Clark?
Titus, why are there so many steakhouses in Indianapolis?
There's nothing else to eat there. That's what we eat. We meat and potatoes.
It's literally all they have is tunnels to take you from building to building, and then the only thing in the buildings are steakhouses.
I remember I was there for the Super Bowl for a week, and I was trying to eat super healthy, and obviously almost impossible in Indiana. And there was an Aubon pan like 3 blocks from our hotel, and I would just walk to this Aubon pan every day to get soup.
I remember when you were there for the Heat, when you were working for ESPN and the Heat Pacer series.
I took you to dinner.
There. Yeah, you're like, let's go to dinner, and you kept asking me choices, and I was like, no, we don't have that here.
I was like, get this, get healthy. What do you have?
No, we don't have that.
Titus like, we have steak and cigarettes.
We can go to Steak and Shake right by the
steak,
mall.
Cigarettes, and sports bars. So what's going on at the Combine, Clark? What are they talking about?
Well, no one actually – the Combine at this point is sort of overrated because none of the GMs or the coaches have actually watched many of the prospects. So if you ask them anything – like Anthony Lynn was asked about Lamar Jackson yesterday, and he was basically like, yeah, I saw him on TV a couple of times. So they're kind of just hanging out. It's kind of a fraternity reunion. That's what happens in the early few days of the Combine. That's what's going on right now.
It sounds like
it's a booze cruise.
Yeah, it sounds like the Summer League in Vegas. There's kind of a purpose,
exactly.
but not really. Is there NFL scuttlebutt? Are there things going on, things happening, things you're hearing?
Well, yeah, so Saquon Barkley just jumped 41 inches in the air, which seems impossible.
Wow.
And, he's going to be this year's most intriguing prospect. And people are kind of freaking out about it because the last couple of years, I think the Cowboys probably wish they drafted Jalen Ramsey instead of Zeke Elliott, and Leonard Fournette went out of the Jaguars lineup last year, and it didn't have a huge impact on them. So I kind of think the jury's out right now on running backs in the top 5, but Barkley might be just an actual generational talent, and I think I've heard a lot of teams say that. And so I think that's going to be the big debate now, and aside from the quarterbacks, which is anybody's guess at this point. But the scuttlebutt, it's all over the place. No one knows where Kirk Cousins is going to sign, and everyone has a different conspiracy theory. So that's basically all anyone talks about.
I am on record, and I'm going to even double down on being on the record. I think Barkley has a real chance to go first to the Browns because they can still get a quarterback at 4.
Right.
Titus.
Right.
Titus, isn't that the move? You have the 4th pick.
Yeah.
There are all these quarterbacks left. Take the generational running back at 1.
I think that's what the Browns fans want because the Cleveland people or the Ohio people, we saw Saquon Barkley. We saw him play at Penn State because Ohio State, Penn State, Big Ten stuff. So
yeah,
I think that's what the Browns fans want is that.
And then you have him and Myles Garrett. That's a nice start to a franchise.
So that means they'll definitely not. That means they'll trade down and take take 3 quarterbacks with all their picks and.
I'm anti running back in the top 5. But I am not anti.
I agree.
I'm not anti-generational talent in the top 1. Like if this guy's that good, you got to do it.
I have something to say about the Browns.
Yeah.
I know a guy who knows things, as you would say, was with someone who works for Cleveland a couple nights ago, and he said the guy it wasn't a decision maker, but he was in the building. And that guy just threw out the idea that the Browns should just take 2 quarterbacks with the top 4 picks.
I almost did a mailbag thing about this because I got an email about it because people were saying the guy who emailed me said you have a 50% chance of striking oil with a quarterback in the top 5,
God.
right? And he was like, why not just take 2 and hope you hit with one of the 2?
Oh my God.
Your odds are 50%.
I'm
in. I like this idea.
No, stop it. I'm not even a Browns fan. I'm not even really a football fan, if we're being honest. But living in Ohio, it just seeps into you. You cannot avoid just the Browns' misery. Are they just making decisions to? I feel like the only reason they're drafting quarterbacks at this point is to add to that long jersey that they have and that window at the store where they have every quarterback in the last 6 years that have played here.
Is that a store? That's
they
in
have
the store?
this jersey where they bought I forget who, Tim Couch or something, and then they cross out his name and they write the next starter, and it's like at this point on the mannequin it's all the way down to his ankles because they just keep adding names. I think that feels like what the Browns plan is just Screw winning games. Let's just add names to this list.
It's like a list of the people in the Trump administration, just like 100 people who just cycled through.
I remember I was at Grantland. It must have been 4 years ago when they had some terrible quarterback starting, and the Cleveland.com ran a poll of who's the best Browns quarterback in Browns history, and they had all the choices. And I think Tim Couch won, but it was like 12 guys received votes, but they were guys like Colt McCoy and Seneca Wallace. And it was amazing. It was like a non-ironic poll.
Yep. Brian Hoyer was Brian Hoyer. I think was the quarterback that got me into I watched 3 Browns games in a row when Brian Hoyer, right?
And then he blew out his ACL.
He blew out his ACL. Then I was like, all right, I'm back to not watching the Browns anymore.
The one guy who seemed relatively competent was Derek Anderson. He had one year where he was kind of flinging it around.
Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
2007.
He was maybe slightly above average, which is the best they've ever done. But yeah, I mean, I would take Barkley 1 and know that I got a great guy, and then you just roll the dice at 4. Like nobody seems to know which one of these quarterbacks is the best quarterback, and all of them have bust potential, right?
So everyone seems to say it's Sam Darnold, but I think that's only because it's the consensus for somebody else. Like, I haven't heard anyone say Sam Darnold is the best quarterback in the draft. I've heard everybody say that they heard that Sam Darnold is the best quarterback in the draft. It's kind of like it's a snake eating itself, right? Like, so I don't know. I just don't think these guys have evaluated enough. I would guess it's probably going to be Darnold, the first guy off the board, but who knows? I mean, Baker Mayfield. I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to be the first guy off, but there's a huge variance in where he could go. Lamar Jackson. I mean, some teams apparently want to see him a wide receiver, and some teams might think he's a first round pick. So I don't remember a quarterback batch with this many questions going into the combine.
I like when they're picking the quarterbacks apart, and it's like Baker Mayfield short arms. I always think about what it would be like if you were Baker Mayfield. You're reading this stuff. You're like, God, are my arms really that short? Like you develop a complex about it. You're standing in front of a full length mirror.
Right.
They don't seem that short. You're just losing your mind.
Do we have
hand size? Hand size is a big one too. Well, could you imagine just not knowing you had small hands until you got to the combine?
Yeah, I found out yesterday on Bachelor Party with Julie Lippman that the Bachelor are huge hands apparently. So he would have done well at the combine. What were we going to say, Titus?
I said, is there any story? I'm always fascinated at the combine with the just absurdities that the GMs are asking the players. It was Des Bryant that got asked about his mom, right? That's the famous one.
Yeah.
Do we have any stories like that this year?
We do. So a Scarborough, the Alabama running back, was asked if God is an Auburn fan.
What does that even mean?
I'll answer that.
He
no,
did not
he's
know.
not. Nope.
How is that a question?
I think sometimes they like to throw just insane curveballs just to see what would happen. Because last year Tyler Boyd, the receiver, said that the Bengals just asked him about the Civil War. I just think that sometimes they just like to throw out questions,
make people uncomfortable. What a great
there's
idea.
All sorts of stories. There's also the stories about them finding the worst thing they could find that would absolutely make a guy angry. A quarterback revealed a couple years ago that there were a bunch of questions about his parents' divorce and stuff. So they really just it's a psychological test more than anything. They just want to see if you're going to blow up at anything.
That's what I did when I was interviewing Tate in my driveway before I decided to hire Tate. I just started besmirching Michael Jordan and Roy Williams and asking about the academic scandal, just trying to push his buttons. He handled perfectly. Can we talk about the St. Elmo's shrimp?
Yeah.
So
we went there last night.
Yeah, I mean, I logged my fair share of time in Indiana, and everybody's like, St. Elmo's, got to go to St. Elmo's, hardest place to get over there. It's fine. It's solid.
I've been there once in my life.
It's fine.
I've been there once.
It's a good restaurant.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's a
what's
good
weird
example of.
But when you're in Indiana, how is shrimp your specialty?
That's
where are the oceans in Indiana that they're dragging the shrimp out of?
It's the one restaurant that Indiana, all the Hoosiers got together and we were like, what do people outside of the Midwest like? And we couldn't figure it out. No one really knows because all we eat again is meat and potatoes, maybe a side of bread if we're feeling really hungry. And someone was like, we could maybe do shrimp, I guess. And do people like shrimp? Is that a thing? Yeah, let's do that. And then St. Elmo's got exalted as like the restaurant that everyone that's coming in should go eat to. I've eaten there once in my life, and I lived in Indiana for 18 years. And
good cocktail sauce. They figured out the cocktail sauce.
Pure horseradish and cocktail sauce. That's all it is. There's barely any shrimp in there. They just made it as spicy as possible. It's a good example of just an Indiana residents' idea of just a great restaurant. Yep. Like it has everything in it. It has the steak, it has the weird fish for some reason, and so when we were there last night, we did not consider it particularly special.
Do you guys want to bury the hatchet about this Victor Oladipo thing? Clark has Victor Oladipo for a couple years. Mm-hmm. His stupid GM gives him away. Oladipo spends a year in the OKC penitentiary being frozen out by Westbrook. Goes to Indiana, and Titus explains this on my podcast as this is great. They're just going after Indiana guys. Indiana people just want to watch people who went to Indiana.
That's all we want.
And Oladipo turns into one of the best, like 12, 15 guys in the league. And now, Clark, you had this guy who was this all-NBA guy basically on your team that you gave away for somebody who's not on your team anymore. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So I was in an Uber the other day, and the Uber driver randomly started talking about how much they love Victor Oladipo, and I was too upset to talk. Like I just didn't respond. I probably got like a 2-star rating because I just didn't respond.
Just catatonic. Orlando, you go back and it's like Victor Oladipo, Aaron Gordon. Who else was on that team?
Harkless.
Mo Harkless, Elfrid Payton, who's actually been pretty good on Phoenix. Like they had some decent pieces. 3 years ago.
Elfrid Payton is he really was a destructive pick because his lack of shooting sort of poisoned Rob Hennigan's brain and broke his brain and basically just said, okay, well, we got to fix the fact we have a non-shooting point guard. So what do? You get rid of the guy who's not a knockdown shooter who's next to him in the backcourt, Oladipo. Like I think that was a lot of it. You can keep Oladipo as long as you have a point guard who can make threes or whatever. And so I think that they committed so hard to making Tate work that they basically broke their franchise. I mean, there's a couple of...
well, you know why, though? You left out the reason why. Because they traded an extra pick to get Elfrid Payton.
Yeah, right.
Which ended up being Saric, who's really good. Oof.
Yeah, I mean, the Magic looked so... Even before the trade, they looked so much better when it was just DJ Augustin, and they just didn't... I mean, Payton was a ball stopper. He obviously couldn't shoot. His vision was overrated. I mean, like 80% of my frustration with the Magic over the past 2 years was just Payton and all the decisions they made to protect him.
And his hair. Well, I think this is good because I like when the Indiana Pacers have a good basketball team. Yeah. I like when people in Indiana are happy. And now they have this team they can rally behind. And to me, the more Indiana guys, the better. I think they should get all of them. I've always wanted to see a team do this. By the way, this is kind of what Charlotte should do.
Charlotte has to do it too.
Yeah.
You just get all UNC guys. You just place a premium. Just get all of them, though. You didn't get enough of them. You didn't get the right ones yet.
Get the good ones.
You need Joel Berry. Get him on the team next year.
We don't need John Hinson for $50 million.
No, get him. Get all those dudes.
You know, there's been rumblings every couple of years the Magic might just start selling out and trying to get Gators, which actually wouldn't be a bad strategy either.
Yeah.
Especially 5 years ago, you'd had Horford, Noah, you could get Chandler Parsons.
Get Noah, he knows available. Get him now.
That's the way to do it, too, because the players love it because, like, Oladipo, even if Oladipo, for some reason, just he becomes like a guy in Space Jam and loses all his talent. He just sucks. And just overnight, he's terrible. People in Indiana are always going to love him because they're always going to remember how he took the Hoosiers to a #1 ranking. He brought the program back, which, you know, Indiana's now missing the NCAA tournament this year.
This is the case for trading for Cody Zeller, too.
Yeah. And
he's available.
It does not matter what you do to on the Pacers. You know, like you just remember the one time he almost caught a lob at his ankles against Michigan. Like these are the things that people remember, and everything you do for the Pacers is just gravy. So like, honestly, he's already the most popular Pacer since Reggie Miller, and
that's amazing.
It seems crazy to me to say it, but
and he loves it. He loves
think he might
there.
be able to surpass Reggie, like if he just stays there for the next 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that he loved Indiana so much? He loves Indiana so much that when he was on the Magic and they would play a road game, before the game he would meet with the local alumni club at the arena.
I'm
not making that up. Like he would like meet with like the IU chapter in Houston before they played the Rockets.
Awesome.
And
love it.
He's all in on Indiana.
So the dream for Indiana is they they get Cody Zeller, and then they trade 4 first-round picks for Brad Stevens.
Yes. You get
How many first-round picks would Indiana trade for Brad Stevens, conceivably? With the most that's ever been in a trade?
Yes. Yeah, they would do
7 first-round picks?
Whatever it takes. You get an aging Mike Conley. You know, he get him on the tail end of his
also
career.
Available.
He'll be The Grizzlies will be wanting to hit the reset button. Get
Wait,
Mike
dude, Indiana doesn't have a point guard. That actually kind of
get
makes
Mike
sense.
to Indiana. I'm on this.
This
man.
is great. Orlando doesn't have to do this because they're in Florida, which is one of like 5 teams where you're not paying state income tax, and they should have a massive advantage getting talent. And for some reason, only Miami is the Florida team that gets people because of that. But Indiana has no advantage.
Never.
They're in Indiana.
Never signed a free agent, I don't think, in the history of the franchise. I don't think it's ever happened.
And what's weird is players either don't really like it there or they love it there. Like Jalen loved it there and allegedly lived on a lake. And
listen, Bill, in 49 states, it's just basketball.
I know. I know, man. You're talking to the guy who wanted to put the Basketball Hall of Fame in Indiana after I blew it up. Rebuild it in French Lick. How far is French Lick from Indiana?
No, you don't want to rebuild in French Lick. You don't want to do that.
Maybe we can rebuild French Lick. All right, Clark, you're writing every day from the combine, right?
Yeah, enough.
Okay. Enough. Not every day, but
times.
enough of the
3
days.
times.
All right, try not.
Either Danny, Robert, and I are filing every day.
And you had Danny Kelly tried oysters?
So last year, Danny Kelly had never had French onion soup,
Yeah.
which is a very bizarre blind spot. And so this year, I asked him what else he hadn't had. He said oysters. So we went to a weird dive bar, had some oysters. It was pretty shady, the bar we went to. So he's been on food poisoning watch for 2 days. He says, I think he's out of the woods.
Well, you'll be happy to know that at the commissary here at Sunset Gower, oxtail soup was on the menu for 4 straight days, and I'm not sure if it's been available for a 5th, but by the time you come back, we might all be dead. It's unclear. It's unclear how it's going to play out. Clark, when are you on Ringer NFL show next?
We have an episode that's coming out Friday, and then we have one next week in which we'll wrap up the combine.
All right, great.
So, it'll be good.
Thanks for coming on. Don't inhale too much secondhand smoke.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy NDC, buddy.
We hit almost everything, but before we go, because you guys got to prepare for your podcast too, let's do quickly the best odds right now that you like for March Madness.
You have them.
I'm gonna have them. Give me 3 teams, and I'll throw some odds at you.
I feel like Kentucky would be interesting, but no, they're gonna have. I don't know how Vegas works. I don't gamble. I'm smart enough to not gamble on this stuff.
That's great.
But Kentucky's like ranked low, but they're getting hot right now. But
I think Kentucky's odds are probably shooting up. They're probably like 20-1 or something like that.
I'm trying to think of the teams that are.
I have a huge sleeper, but I want to see what the odds are before I give it out.
Yeah, I need to hear some of the.
I got it right now. Hold on. All right, NCAA championship, Kentucky 35-1.
That's interesting to me.
Okay, what do you got, Tate?
NC State.
NC State.
The miracle of all miracles.
NC State.
I think it's got to be like
80-1.
I love it. It feels like a weird year like that where there aren't any good teams and some team gets hot in the tournament.
What about Michigan? They're interesting to me as well. Michigan's a team that like the thing about this year is
28-1.
Michigan has better odds than Kentucky?
Yeah.
See, Vegas knows.
What?
Vegas knows.
Yeah, Vegas is kind of.
Yeah, but those are 3 great long shots.
Yeah.
Anytime you get a long shot for more than 25-1.
Kentucky's like, I mean, the vibe with Kentucky is like this might be the 2014 team that struggled all year, but then sort of put it together at the end. They have how many first rounders on their team? 3 at least.
Yeah, at least 3.
Nobody believes in us. Arizona 15-1.
15.
15.
That's a really good one. I wish it was worse though. I wish it was like 25-1.
Yeah, that should be worse.
And then Alabama. 300-1.
Ooh.
Colin Sexton, baby.
What? Alabama's gonna be like an 8 or 9 seed.
Yeah, I think they'll play a 1 seed in the second round.
Why are they 300-1? That doesn't make sense.
The dream,
just because they have to play a 1 seed in the second round.
The dream Alabama scenario is they play like they've already played Oklahoma this year, so they're not gonna play Oklahoma in the first round because they can't do that. But I don't know who they would play in the first round.
Oh, you mean their 9 seed?
Yeah, like they're 8 or 9 seed. But the dream is like they get in Xavier. Xavier gets a 1 seed. They play Xavier in the second round, beat them, and then now they become the 1 seed. They just like inherit the 1 seed. And
How about Bonnie's? The Bonnie's at 500 to 1. No?
I like 500 to 1.
I like 500, yeah.
My wife,
Put $5
the worst.
on
My
it.
wife, the worst sports fan ever, who went to St. Bonaventure's. Like the other day, she's like, "Hey, do you know St. Bonaventure's is good at basketball this year?" I'm like, "Yeah, this."
What is
kind of people
what's
know.
Holy Cross?
Holy Cross. I'm scrolling.
The Holy Cross C words.
UConn looks like they're 5,000 to 1.
I wouldn't take it. Stay away.
Stay away from that
They're
one.
not even going to make the NIT.
Holy Cross isn't even on here.
What's Ohio State? They're actually interesting. I'm super biased, but I feel like their odds would be.
I feel like they're
terrible.
like 20 to 1.
Ohio State is 25 to 1.
They have better odds than Kentucky. See,
Yeah.
I don't understand Vegas at all. Kentucky's the pick for me then, because like if Kentucky is really that low, I think they're better than 35 to 1.
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
then you're betting on Coach Calipari successfully coaching 7 straight games, which I'm not a believer.
What's
He'll screw up one of those.
what's Missouri?
Wichita State 60 to 1.
Oh, I don't trust that Wichita team.
Missouri is 50 to 1.
That's
a
if,
good one.
If Michael
That's
Porter
an
comes
interesting-
back, then they're a
Well,
problem.
who has won the tournament without like a top 7 lottery pick in the last couple years?
Villanova
Villanova 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
UConn 2014.
But Villanova still had
Although-
they still had
although
blue chippers on that team.
Villanova
though.
had Mikal Bridges, who'll
Yeah.
probably end up
Bridges
being
will be a
lottery
top
pick.
10 pick,
Yeah, he'll
yeah.
be a lottery pick.
They just said young future guys.
Brunson and Bridges, yeah.
Trying to think of who else. Yeah,
Why is Auburn 30 to 1?
stay away from that.
Yeah.
Stay away from.
We
Auburn.
can't-
Who thinks Auburn's going to win the national
Nobody
basketball
does.
title?
Auburn's been tough to figure out. Because are they leading the SEC? Are they going to win the SEC?
Yeah,
Tell you-
but they.
Yeah, but a lot of people are mad at us because we haven't talked about them. But their 2 best players going into the season, or 2 pivotal players, were held out.
Also, they're cheating their asses off. And it's like it's going to get vacated anyway, so it's like hard to get excited about anything they're doing because.
My dudes
the Bruce
at
Pearl special.
my dudes at West Virginia are 25 to 1.
Yeah, see, that's a Final Four team.
That's
I
an
feel like
interesting
they're a
pick.
Fucking
very
veteran
good Final Four
backcourt.
team.
That's an interesting pick.
Backcourt
Yeah.
that knows what the hell they're doing.
I still like
Bob
Kentucky.
Huggins
though.
wearing
35
big
to 1
sweaters.
for Kentucky. Like every single team you've listed is better odds than Kentucky. So I don't know.
All right. Listen
Anyway.
to One Shiny Podcast. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff next 5 weeks. Check out our Instagram, Ringer Instagram. You guys will be instant reacting after some
Yep.
of these games. You got Big Ten tournament this weekend. We're going to be messing around with that. Are there Big Ten tournament odds? I didn't even look. Hold on, before we go.
Michigan State's playing right now.
Oh, conference tournaments.
Yeah.
No. Do you care about the West Coast Conference?
It's just St. Mary's Gonzaga. It always has been. Gonzaga's trying to move to the Mountain West.
Gonzaga minus 250, St. Mary's plus 150. San Francisco 20 to 1.
There you go.
That's
Someday.
the pick. The Dons.
Do it.
Someday.
the Dons.
The field is 100 to 1. One Shiny Podcast. Subscribe to that. Follow those guys on that podcast on their Twitter feeds at Club Trillion, at Tate Frazier, and on our Instagram, which is the Ringers Instagram. Thanks to ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. My listeners can try for free at ZipRecruiter.com/BS. Thanks to Simply Safe, they just released its brand new home security system, completely rebuilt, redesigned, new safeguards against power outages, down Wi-Fi, cut landlines, bats, hammers, everything in between. Smaller, faster, stronger than ever before. You still get 24/7 protection for only $15 a month. What a remarkable fact. No contract, supplies are limited. Visit simplysafebs.com right now. Simply Safe with 2 eyes. Don't forget to go to theringer.com to read my Anthony Davis column as well as all of our Oscar stuff. And on Sunday night, right after the Oscars, we're doing a live post-game show on Twitter. Fantasy, Amanda, Chris Ryan. I think somebody else is going to be on it too. But yeah, they're going to be reacting. I don't know how we topped La La Land versus Moonlight in that fiasco last year, but we'll see how it goes. Enjoy the weekend. Go Tudela.